Were there questions? Were there doubts? What brought you into Islam?
So, Jazakallah for your question. I think, well, obviously, I was raised in a Muslim family and a fairly practicing Muslim family, I'd say. And my childhood was in Saudi, actually, a part of it. So, from the second grade to the eighth grade, my dad, who served in the Pakistan embassy, was stationed in Riyadh. So, we were in Riyadh. We went to many Umrahs together. My dad did two Hajj there. Well, we didn't go to Hajj, the kids didn't go, but. And then I had a little bit of schooling in Pakistan also for about less than a year. So my early education was basically all in an Islamic environment. And then when we came to the U.S., uh, I was ready to go into 10th grade, and we signed up for public school. And public school in Queens, New York, is basically the kind of chaos you see at a bus station in the Muslim world. Like it doesn't look like a classroom. It was absolute pandemonium, and it was the massive culture shock for me. Just to get to the point about this atheism thing, I think the first thing, if I look at myself introspectively and kind of think about how I was transitioning, the first thing I felt was out of place. Like I don't belong here. These people make fun of the way I speak. They think I'm strange, I'm weird, I'm awkward. They're more confident than I am. They're better spoken than I am. Like they're just better at everything than I am. I just felt inadequate and inferior in every way when I was at school. And it was a very common part of the culture to make fun of people publicly and humiliate them. And kids can be cruel, but it's interesting. Uniform does something. When you're wearing uniform, you're not dressed any better than anybody else. So what are they going to make fun of? Your shoes aren't as shiny. Like there's nothing to pick on. But when you don't have uniforms in schools, which we don't have in the U.S., you have people wearing brand clothes, people dressed this way or that way. And obviously, I just came from Pakistan, so I'm going to dress like a nerdy Pakistani kid. I mean, I took
What did you dress like exactly?
a sweater knit by my mom. Does that help? Yeah, that paints a pretty good picture.
I can relate.
Yeah.
Happened to me.
Okay.
You said the same thing. My mother sewed my tracksuit pants. Became a laughing stock for 1 year.
Yeah, and I took a briefcase to school, so that didn't go well. And so being the object of ridicule, the only thought in my head was surviving the day in school. Like I could be sitting there in class just thinking, who's going to say something next? That was the anxiety I had all day. And it's not something I could talk to my family about, because that's a different world when you walk into school, right? And so then
This is in primary school you're talking about.
This is high school.
High school.
Yeah,
right.
This is high school. This is me. I was about 16 years old now. And one of the things I learned then is I better find, you can survive only in a pack. So you have to find a pack. And then there are weirdos in every school, the nerds and the strange ones that don't fit in
Of course,
everywhere.
yeah,
So
that's
I had a couple of weirdos that were just kind of outliers, and we became friends, right? And that became our little, let's be in the corner, isolated from the rest of society together.
you were with the weirdos.
Yeah, I was with the weirdos, right? There was
Congratulations.
this Russian guy, and there was this like Chinese kid, and there was me, and there was this Sardar kid, and we were just the weirdos in the corner, and that was our hangout. But then over time, a new impulse kicked in, and that was no, I don't just want to be in the corner. I want to fit in. What does it take to fit in, right? And then wanting to talk like the others. I think the first jump in my English vocabulary came with foul language, because that was, I don't know if that's the case here, but in New York, a cuss word, a filthy word, is a noun, an adjective, an adverb, a comma, and a full stop. So it's every other word is a foul word to communicate a sentence. So if you're going to pick up the lingo, that's what you have to pick up, right? And it's interesting. Allah says, it actually has an effect on you spiritually when you start using foul language, and you become less and less in tune with your own fitrah. It's khilaf al-fitrah. I felt that way, and
Khilaf al-fitra means
like it goes against your nature. There's a human nature to not want to use those words. Your tongue was designed to say sacred things, beautiful things. Like it violates something inside you. And I could feel it, but it was just the social desire to fit in. And the way I dress changed, the way I got my haircut changed. I had a weird haircut. I had one of those like shaved all sides and a ponytail situation. Yep. And then I got a job in a Spanish neighborhood. So my English got pretty good, but then I started learning Spanish to fit in the Spanish neighborhood. So my Spanish got really, really good. People thought I was Mexican or Puerto Rican or like, so, but then the atheism thing actually came. I like to think of atheism as two. There's a psychological atheism and there's an intellectual atheism. And I don't think I was ever an intellectual atheist, actually. That's the intellectual atheism is actually for most people, I think, is just an excuse. It's 90% of that iceberg is psychological.
I agree, 100%.
Yeah,
that's right.
And then they just top it off with some intellectual excuses and rationales. And then the moment you start chipping away at those really weak rational arguments, then the emotional side just comes out roaring. And you're like, okay, that's what's really going on with you. And that's what was going on with me, right? And so I didn't see the need for this religion. And if you don't need religion, why do you need God? Like everything I need is, I have my friends, you can have popularity, you can have whatever you want, you need a job, you need money in life. These are the things you need. Why do you need to go pray? Why do you need to do all, so that stuff became more and more irrelevant. And then the tip of the iceberg was first semester of college, I took Philosophy 101. And it was two courses I took, Philosophy of Ethics and Metaphysics. So in metaphysics, it's...
Sorry, Ustaz Nouman. So college is at university?
It's so 12th grade is high school.
Right.
And then right after that you start college.
College. So you're like university?
Basically, yes. Okay. Yeah, we in America, we kind of use it interchangeably a little bit.
Sorry if other people know. I just remember in tune.
It's all good. So what happened in philosophy class, I loved it. I loved Plato, Aristotle. I loved I really got into logic and, even religious philosophies and things like that. And then the arguments for the teleological, cosmological, ontological arguments for the existence of God and the counter arguments against them. I was fascinated with that stuff. And at the end of it, I was like, you know what? For every logical argument, there's a logical counter argument for the existence of God. So this is a stalemate. So you get to choose. That's kind of where my professor sort of left it. And then to add to that, I was taking another course called Philosophy of Ethics. And to summarize it, the point of the Philosophy of Ethics course is there is no such thing as right and wrong. It's just whatever you feel. So is the final conclusion to that, And that's really comforting for someone who doesn't want to surrender themselves. Because now I'm the other.
أَفَرَأَيْتَ مَنِ اتَّخَذَ إِلَهَهُ هَوَاهُ in English?
Yeah, so have you seen someone who takes their whims and turns them into their God, right? So you become the God. Why do you need to have a higher power? You decide, So in that sense, it felt artificially liberating to be an atheist, and because I'm in New York, and then my parents, my dad got papers to go back to Pakistan, and he was going to leave in 6 months, right? And I was really excited that he's going to leave in 6 months. My parents, because I was going to stay back in uni. And now I don't have any parents controlling what I'm going to do. I don't have, nobody's going to watch over, I'm going to have complete freedom, right? And in New York, of all places. So this is going to be great, And then Allah had other plans, and he kind of sort of redirected my thoughts and actually I think my first transformation wasn't intellectual, it was emotional. And then my second transformation was intellectual. So it worked in reverse order.
Any emotional in what sense? Can you explain that?
Yeah, so I saw a dream. That was probably the big event. I saw a dream. I had snuck out of the house. My parents were upstairs. In New York, we have basements. You guys have basements here? Okay, so
not too many, but we do have.
Okay, so our home in Queens, we had a basement. So my room was in the basement. Also because my sister didn't want to be in the basement, and then I get the basement because it gets flooded. So, but I was okay with it. So the advantage of it was it had its own backdoor exit out of the house. So I could sneak out of the house from the basement and nobody would know. So I snuck out of the house, went to this party with my Hindu friend, hung out with him until 3 a.m, snuck back into the house. Dad never found out. Now they're going to watch this video. But anyway, so But I get back and I fall asleep, safe and sound, and I see myself in a dream, in my own grave, and my head has been turned into a lizard's head, and there's fire pouring out from both sides, like multiple faucets just pouring out fire like water from both sides. And there's somebody over the grave saying, "This is because you don't pray." And I woke up like that. And by this point, it must have been a couple of years I hadn't prayed anything. No Jumu'ah, no Eid, no nothing. Right? And this is before my parents left. So now I get up and I prayed. I don't even know. I knew there were 5 prayers, but I didn't quite remember how they work. So I prayed some version of Isha, followed by some version of Maghrib, followed by some version of in succession. And
Sorry, so you didn't grow up in a family environment where they taught you how to pray from
they did, but it had been so long since I prayed that
you had forgotten.
I've forgotten it.
That's it.
Yeah. And then I was in sajda and I started crying. And I kept on crying. And then I fell asleep
Is
crying.
this still in the dream?
No.
No,
This was a real life. So I fell asleep crying. I woke up the next morning in sajda. And something in me just kind of got shaken up. And the first thing I decided to do, because I was going to go to meet with my friends the next day, like nothing in my outside world has changed. Something crazy has happened inside, but nothing outside is different, right? My friends are like, "Hey, you want to go get some pizza?" No, I don't want to go. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I start pulling away from all of my social acquaintances, right? And they start noticing, "You okay? You all right? Is everything okay?" And then I felt the need to pray. So I started finding corners in the campus in college to pray.
Nouman, why did you feel the need to pull away from them? Why couldn't you just be friends with them and then in your spare time?
I think if I'm being super honest, I could sense the darkness from their company. Like ever since that dream, you could almost feel a darkness.
Would it be right to say that you feared that if you mix with them again, you're going to lose that lovely? It was kind of a bittersweet feeling that you had, but there was something.
I was actually terrified of losing it.
Terrified of losing it.
I was terrified of losing it. So that's probably how I would describe it. And so I started kind of pulling away from them. And then Allah just opened other doors for me. I met some people on campus that I became friends with Muslims. And that was a strange story by itself. But the people I met, they were good brothers, really good brothers, but they weren't preachy. Like they didn't ever make any da'wah to me or anything. And they saw me praying correctly and they didn't really make a thing out of it, right? And one of them, he decided to kind of start giving me a ride, and he took me to other MSAs. So we were in the city school. So this is
just MSAs was
Muslim Students Association.
Yeah, Muslim School Association.
So we were in the Muslim club in our college, in Baruch College, and ours was a city school. So the city college or city university, it's cheap. It's like $1,600 a semester was considered cheap, and I think it's much more now. But just up the road in the city, uptown, was Columbia University, which is like $20,000 a semester, which is now probably $50,000. I don't even know how expensive they are now. But they had an MSA, and they were having a meeting. And the guys, my friend said, "Let's go to their meeting." I was like, "Rich school meeting? Yeah, let's go." Because that's too rich for my blood. I can get inside there and see what it's like. So we go in there, and there's a circle of brothers and sisters, like a half circle of sisters, half circle of brothers. And they're discussing how they're going to raise enough money. And they have a poster of a child in the middle, because there was some flood that had happened in Bangladesh. And they had arranged for different children to be adopted by Muslim families in America that were left orphans. And they had identified a child that their MSA was going to help adopt and come up with the funds for his paperwork. And I'm sitting there listening to these people that are...
Is this the first experience for you in your life to see something like that, with people who are actually trying to make projects to help people outside?
Like
first time.
It's not just first time to see that. It's these people are my age. Like everybody I knew until now is, you want to go play basketball, you want to get some pizza, you want to go watch a movie, you want to go do something stupid. Like this was life.
Did you think at that time that religion was kind of for older people? Only older
Yeah.
people do stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's still time to.
In fact, I never even thought about stuff like that. My universe wasn't that big. It was a very small world in my head. And then I'm thinking, what makes these people even think like this? Like, what's in their food? Like, why are they're so much better. They're much better human beings than I ever thought I could be. What is it about them? Right? And it was my friend who took me there, didn't say anything on the way back. He's like, what did you think? I was like, I don't know. That was weird. I was like, what was weird about it? Tell me what was weird. I was like, these people are so awesome.